Welcome to Elijah Craig Small Batch, day one of the Whiskey Tribe sourced Advent Calendar of sorts. So the goal was to source a whiskey list that most people could get their hands on and join along and drink with us. So I'm going to give you some of my notes. I'll tell you a little story too. But first, some Elijah Craig. I keep coming back to this one over and over as being a whiskey that I just enjoy every time. Every time I drink it, I enjoy it. The small batch, this is a 94 proof, and immediately, I'm going to give you some actual tasting notes here in a second. Immediately, let's see, I'm going to write these down so I don't forget them. Cherry menthol. Slight earth and wood note. A little dusty cinnamon, which is my stage name, Dusty Cinnamon. It's better than Dusty Corn. I've got a friend of mine who is already Dusty Corn, and we do a duo stage act, Dusty Corn and Dusty Cinnamon. So I was trying to figure out, what do we do differently for this Advent calendar? Because here's the thing, all of these whiskeys, they've all been reviewed over and over by everybody on the planet, which is why we picked them, because they're easily accessible. But how do you say something new about these? And so there's two things I was going to do. One, a month and a half ago, I started reaching out to all of the brands who are represented in this upcoming Advent calendar. And I said, could you introduce me to one of your reps or anybody who works in the distillery who wants to help promote your brand? And I'm going to name them, and I'm going to have them answer these 3 questions, and I'm going to read their answers on the show, and we're going to promote it to our 20,000 people in the Facebook group to introduce them to the reps, because I think the people out there trying to get whiskey sold and into retail and into restaurant are often overlooked. And the cool thing about them is they can get you access to events, and they can get on a list where they'll tell you if they're going to be in town. You get to try new things. Depressingly, of the 25 brands I reached out to, some of which one parent company, multiple brands, I think I had 6 people reply. And I reached out a couple times over the last month and a half. And basically, most of the brands just didn't give a crap. Did not reply at all. Didn't even say, sorry, we're not interested. One of them even did reply and said, sorry, we don't have any reps I can point you to. And we're talking about one of the biggest bourbon brands on the planet. Just said, sorry, we don't have any reps to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Well, so, son of a bitch. This is why distillers just don't seem to understand marketing, it seems like. Okay, so Elijah Craig. Now, what I was going to do, I have this habit. I don't know if I've ever told you about this. I have this habit of, in my head, I organize my whiskey tasting experience around music terminology. And the same way that I used to mix albums and mix instruments and mix drums as I was playing, so I interpret all of this in my senses a lot like music. And so I'll hear lows, mids, and highs like EQ boosts, and I'll hear instrumentation, and then I have to take that and then I have to translate that into whiskey words that I've been teaching myself over the last decade. But my first experience with whiskey, my brain experiences it similar to how I experience music when I listen to an album for the first time. So I'm going to tell you some of my music notes. I'll give you the actual tasting notes too, but now that it's sat for a little bit, it's a little dusty. More of that dust corn note shows up. Okay, so are you ready? I like this one. It's a little bit... So this one starts to me sonically with all mids and no lows. So all mid-range and slightly low mids, but no lows. And kind of a dense mid. And then there's a little spike of treble 3/4 of the way through that sort of is black pepper wood notes. But it's this bing. It's like if the keys started, and then there's a little electric distortion that goes, a little riff, right? And then it kind of settles back into the mids, and then it ends with like the end of a piano sustain. So like you hit a note and you leave the sustain pedal on, but it just kind of dies out slowly. That's what it's doing for me. Yeah, to me, Elijah Craig is a keyboard heavy band. Elijah Craig is a band where the bass doesn't really provide any more lowness than the low notes of a keyboard go. If you you know what it is? If you removed the heavy bass riff from Frou Frou, the band Frou Frou, which is anyway, it's got that that synthesizer heavy, or like Alice DJ, because it has all those big heavy mid keys, but like synth, not piano necessarily. And then there's these spikes of sharpness that kind of round out the edges. So, how you guys feel about this? You're going to continue? We'll continue on the Advent Calendar, Daniel's musical interpretation of whiskey. This is day 1. Welcome to December. Elijah Craig, to me, is just a good, simply classic bourbon. It's a little bit sweet, but it doesn't get cloyingly sweet. And it's not overly sharp, or I don't struggle with the wood notes. So I dig this one for just a good classic bourbon. Cheers to you guys. Until tomorrow, Merry Crazy, stay this side of legal, and may you return before we have time to miss you.